The spaceship Celestial Seeker floated above planet HD 429 bits. The ship was full of aliens from different worlds who worked together in the Galactic Confederation. They all looked at their screens, watching a human named Daniel Carter. Daniel was 34 years old and came from Montana on Earth. He knew how to survive in the wild. He had joined what he thought was just a tough outdoor challenge. He did not know that Earth's leaders had made a deal with the aliens. The aliens wanted to see if humans could live on dangerous planets. Something went wrong with Daniel's landing pod. It crashed far from where it should have landed. The pod hit the ground hard in an area full of dangers. Acid pools that shot into the air, wild changes in temperature, and hungry alien animals. The alien researchers began to worry. They talked quickly among themselves. "He will die there," said one alien with blue skin and 4 eyes. "The acid will burn him. The animals will eat him. We must bring him back." "No," said Chief Researcher Zixborn. "I want to see if the stories about humans are true. They say humans can live through almost anything." Zixborn had 6 limbs and skin that changed colors with his mood. Now he was dark orange with interest as he watched the screens. Daniel woke up in the smoking wreck of his pod. His head hurt. His light had a cut. But he was alive. He checked what supplies he had left. Not many. He had a knife, some rope, a broken radio, and a small first aid kit. The food and water containers had broken in the crash. Daniel stood up and looked around. The sky was a strange purple color. The ground was rocky with patches of odd twisted plants. In the distance, he saw tall rock formations and what looked like a forest of blue trees. The air felt heavy and smelled like metal. "Well, this just got interesting," Daniel said to himself. He did not seem scared. Instead, he started to gather pieces of his broken pod that might be useful. The aliens watched with surprise as Daniel began to explore the area around the crash. He tested the soil, looked at the plants, and found a small stream of water. He did all this like someone who had done it many times before. "How is he so calm?" asked a thin alien with long fingers. "Our own explorers needed special suits and weapons to walk on this planet." Zixvorn leaned closer to the screen. "Because," he said slowly, "Earth is a death world too. Maybe even more dangerous than this one." Night began to fall on HD 429 bits. The temperature dropped quickly. Daniel didn't panic. He just worked faster to build a small shelter from pod pieces and strange local plants. The aliens watched in silence as the human survived his first day on a world that should have killed him. The sun rose on HD 429 bits, showing a harsh landscape in the light of day. Daniel woke up in his simple shelter. He had slept only a few hours, but it was enough. He stepped outside and took a deep breath. The air felt heavy in his lungs and had a taste like metal. On the spaceship above, the aliens watched with great interest. "He should be resting more," said senior xenobiologist Clara II. She had green scales and large yellow eyes. "The gravity is 1.2 times stronger than Earth. Every move takes more energy here." But Daniel was not resting. He was already working. He gathered strange crystal rocks from nearby hills. He pulled fibers from local plants, even though they leaked a mild poison when cut. He collected metal pieces from his crashed pod. "What is he doing?" asked an alien with tentacles for arms. "He should stay by his pod and wait for rescue." "Humans don't wait for rescue," said Zixborn. "They rescue themselves." Daniel walked in a wide circle around his crash site. He made a map in the dirt, marking where he found water, where he saw tracks from animals, and where he might find food. He tested plants by touching them to his skin first, then his lips, looking for ones that might be safe to eat. The aliens were confused by how organized Daniel was. According to their information, humans often panicked when alone in danger, but Daniel showed no signs of fear or confusion. As the day went on, the temperature rose to very hot levels. Daniel found shade and worked there. He used parts from his pod to make a stronger shelter. He found a way to catch water from the air. He even made a spear for hunting and protection. When night came again, the temperature dropped fast. It went down to minus 30 degrees Celsius, cold enough to freeze a human to death. The aliens thought Daniel would die now for sure. Instead, they watched as he did something amazing. He took two kinds of minerals he had collected and scraped them together near dry plants. The chemicals in the rocks made a reaction that started a fire. The aliens had never thought to use these rocks this way. Fascinating, whispered Zixvorn. The Deathworlder understands this environment better after 1 day than our scout team did after 3 days. Daniel sat by his fire, cooking a small animal he had caught. He had tested it carefully before eating. His shelter now had walls that kept out the wind. He had made a bed from soft plant fibers that didn't cause skin reactions. How does he know so much about survival on a planet he's never seen? Asked Clara too. Because humans evolved on a planet that tried to kill them every day, answered Zixvorn, and they learned to fight back. In the cold night of HD 429 bits, Daniel slept soundly while the aliens continued to watch, more interested than ever in this strange creature from Earth. By the third day, the aliens could not believe what they were seeing. Daniel had built much more than a simple shelter, using just his survival knife, parts from his broken radio, and things he found on the planet. He had made a real home. Look at how he used those flat rocks, said Zixvorn. He placed them in layers with plant fibers between. This keeps heat in at night and out during the day. Daniel had found a small cave near his crash site. He checked it carefully for dangers, then made it stronger with wood and stone so it would not collapse. He even built a system that cleaned the air coming into the cave. How is he cleaning the water? Asked researcher Plinsar, who studied water on many planets. It has acid and minerals that should make him sick. The aliens watched as Daniel built a clever water filter. He used charcoal from his fires, crushed crystals, and special plants in a specific order. The water that came out was clean enough to drink. What surprised the aliens most was how Daniel could take survival skills from Earth and make them work on a completely different planet. He made traps to catch food. He built containers to store water and food. He even made a way to tell time by tracking the planet's 22-hour day. Then something scary happened. While gathering plants, a bug-like creature with many legs bit Daniel's arm. The bite immediately turned red and swelled up. That is a poisonous sting, said the alien medical team. We must get him off the planet now. But before they could act, Daniel looked at his arm calmly. He searched the area and found a plant with leaves similar to ones on Earth. He crushed the leaves, mixed them with water, and put the mix on his bite. Within hours, the swelling went down. Their adaptability is not just in their bodies, said behavioral psychologist Mirak, an alien with 4 small eyes. It is in their minds. He is learning this world faster than our computers predicted was possible. By the end of the 3rd day, Daniel had a bed, storage for food and water, weapons for hunting and protection, and even a place to cook food safely. He had marked safe paths to water and food sources. He had learned which animals to avoid. The aliens watched him sit by his fire that night, writing notes in the dirt about what he had learned. I think, said Zixvorn slowly, that we have greatly underestimated humans. If one can do this much in 3 days with almost nothing, what could many of them do with real tools and time? The other aliens looked at each other nervously. This human was not just surviving. He was mastering a world that had killed many other species. 2 weeks passed. Daniel had settled into a daily routine on the harsh planet. His cave home now had separate areas for sleeping, storing food, and working on tools. The aliens watched him every day, learning more about humans with each passing hour. Then the weather began to change. Strong winds started to blow. The sky turned a dark purple color. A superstorm is coming, said weather expert Loomtick on the spaceship. Our data shows it was not supposed to happen for another month. This is very bad. The storm on HD 429 bits was not like Earth storms. It had winds strong enough to throw large rocks. It had rain that could burn skin. It had lightning that struck the ground hundreds of times each hour. "We must bring the human up to our ship," said Security Officer Ralathun. "No shelter made of sticks and stones can stand against this storm." But Daniel seemed to sense the coming danger. He looked at the sky, felt the wind, and smelled the air. Then he began to work faster than ever before. The aliens watched as Daniel made his shelter stronger. He dug channels around his cave to direct water away. He found a sticky sap from trees that was slightly poisonous to touch, but very strong when dry. He mixed this sap with soil and small rocks to make a covering for his shelter's entrance. "That sap will hurt his skin," said toxicologist Threnza. "Why would he use it?" "Because the storm will hurt him more," answered Zixvorn. "He is making a smart choice between two bad things." The storm hit with great power. The winds howled. The rain fell like small bullets. Lightning turned night into day with bright flashes. The aliens' cameras sometimes failed in the storm, so they could only see parts of what happened. They saw Daniel inside his shelter, tying himself to a rock so the wind would not pull him out. When part of his roof broke, he went outside during the storm to fix it, even though the rain burned his skin. "By all we know about survival, he should die in this storm," said Zixvorn. "His shelter should break. The wind should take him. The rain should burn him." The storm lasted 30 hours. The aliens thought Daniel must be dead. But when it finally ended, their cameras showed him coming out of his damaged shelter. He was limping. He had burns on his arms. But he was alive. And he immediately began to fix his home. "I have never seen anything like this," whispered Zixvorn. "The stories about humans being tough survivors might not be strong enough. They might be even more impressive than we thought." 1 month had passed since Daniel crashed on HD 429 bits. His shelter had grown into something impressive. What began as a simple cave was now a small fortress with different rooms. He had areas for sleeping, storing food, making tools, and even a place where he could sit and think. Daniel had learned the land around him very well. He knew where to find food, where to get clean water, and which areas to avoid. He had made maps in the dirt and with marks on stone walls. He had even started to predict the planet's weather by watching cloud patterns. The aliens watching him were no longer just surprised. They were impressed. "He has done more than just survive," said Zixvorn. "He has made this small part of the planet his home." But the research team soon noticed something that made them very worried. Their sensors picked up movement from the most dangerous animal on the planet, a creature they called a Nexer. The Nexer looked somewhat like a large cat from Earth, but with scales instead of fur and claws that carried poison. It was fast, smart, and very deadly. Even the aliens' armed research teams stayed far away from areas where Nexers lived. "Our tracking shows 3 Nexers moving toward the humans' territory," said Security Officer Ralathun. "We must get him off the planet now. No one can fight a Nexer without weapons and armor." But Daniel seemed to know something was coming. The aliens watched as he prepared for the danger. He did not run or hide as they expected. Instead, he began to build something around his shelter, a trap. "What is he doing?" asked Ralathun. "He cannot catch a Nexer. They are too smart for simple traps." Daniel worked for 2 days, digging pits and covering them, setting up trip lines with noisy alarms made of stones and shells, and preparing special spears with poison from plants he had found. On the 3rd day, the first Nexer came. It was larger than Daniel, with teeth as long as his fingers and green scales that helped it hide in the blue-green plants. It moved silently toward Daniel's shelter. The aliens held their breath as they watched. Daniel was outside, but he did not seem afraid. He stood very still, holding one of his spears, waiting. The Nexer jumped and fell right into Daniel's trap. A hidden pit opened under it, and the creature dropped down with a loud roar. It was not deep enough to kill the Nexer, but it held the animal safely. The other two Nexers came closer, but when they saw what happened to the first one, they backed away and left. They seemed to understand that Daniel was not easy prey. Daniel walked to the edge of the pit and looked down at the trapped Nexer. The alien researchers expected him to kill it, but he didn't. "What is he doing now?" asked Ralathun. "He should kill it while he has the chance." Daniel studied the trapped animal for a long time. He seemed to be learning about it. Its size, its teeth, its claws, how it moved. Then he did something that shocked the aliens. He used a long stick to help the Nexer climb out of the pit, while staying safely away from its claws. The Nexer ran away without attacking. "Remarkable," said the alien who studied animal behavior, Plex Nim. He showed the Nexer he could catch it, but chose not to kill it. Now the Nexers will avoid his territory. They are smart enough to recognize danger. But how did he know they travel in groups? How did he know their hunting patterns? Asked another researcher. "Because he is a predator himself," answered Zixforn. "Humans are predators that evolved on a world even more dangerous than this one. He understands hunters because he is one." The alien researchers looked at each other with new respect and a little fear. This human was not just good at surviving. He understood the rules of life and death on any world, even one he had never seen before. "I think," said Zixforn quietly, "we should be very careful about what kind of relationship we make with humans in the future. They might be more dangerous than we thought." 2 months after Daniel crashed on HD 429 bits, disaster struck. Early one morning, the ground began to shake. It was not a big earthquake, but it was strong enough to damage Daniel's shelter. Rocks fell from the cave ceiling. Part of his wall collapsed. Worse still, Daniel was inside when it happened. The aliens watched in horror as a large rock fell and hit his leg. When the shaking stopped, Daniel tried to stand but fell back down. His leg was clearly broken, and he had deep cuts on his arms and back. "This is it," said Medical Officer Trindler. "Even a human cannot survive such injuries without proper care. The bone will get infected. The wounds will not heal right. We must get him off the planet now." The alien team prepared a rescue mission, but Zixforn asked them to wait just a little longer. "Let us see what he does first," said Zixforn. "I want to know how humans handle this kind of crisis." They watched as Daniel, in clear pain, crawled to his medical supplies. He had collected certain plants and minerals over the weeks that seemed to have healing properties. With shaking hands, he cleaned his cuts first. Then came the hard part. Daniel found 2 straight sticks and some vines. He put the sticks on either side of his broken leg. He placed a piece of leather in his mouth, bit down hard, and then pulled his leg straight with a quick, strong movement. The aliens could see the pain on his face. Some turned away, unable to watch. Daniel tied the sticks to his leg with the vines, making what doctors on Earth would call a splint. He then made a crutch from a long branch so he could move around. "Incredible," whispered Trindler. "He just set his own broken bone without any pain medicine. The pain must be terrible." But what happened next showed the aliens something new about humans. That night, alone in his damaged shelter, Daniel finally broke down. The pain, the loneliness, and the constant struggle became too much. He cried. His body shook with sobs as he sat in the dark, his broken leg stretched out in front of him. "You see," said Ralathun, "even humans have limits. His spirit is breaking. Now he will give up." Several researchers agreed. They had never seen Daniel show such strong emotions before. "Wait," said Zixforn. "Look at the bio readings. His heart rate is already slowing down. His breathing is becoming regular again." By morning, Daniel had changed. He was not the same confident survivor they had watched for 2 months. He looked tired and moved carefully because of his pain, but he had not given up. The aliens watched in amazement as Daniel adapted to his new limitations. He redesigned his tools so he could use them with one hand while leaning on his crutch. He moved things in his shelter so he could reach them more easily. He made a new hunting tool that let him catch food while sitting down. This resilience is beyond our understanding, said psychological theorist Juno Vex. He not only survives physical injury but also emotional crisis. He feels despair but does not let it stop him. Most species we know would give up after such trauma, agreed Zixforn. But humans seem to have an unusual ability to feel intense pain and negative emotions, then put them aside and keep going. Day by day, Daniel's leg began to heal. He kept his wounds clean and changed his splint regularly. He adjusted his daily routine to use less energy. He found ways to do everything he needed despite his injury. I think, said Zixforn, that we are seeing why humans have survived on their dangerous homeworld. It is not just their bodies or their tools. It is something in their minds that refuses to accept defeat, even when defeat seems certain. The other researchers nodded in agreement, watching with new respect as Daniel, limping but determined, continued to survive against all odds. 3 months had passed since Daniel crashed on HD 429 bits. His leg was healing well. He could now walk with only a slight limp. His shelter had been rebuilt and made stronger than before. He had enough food stored to last through bad weather. He had even made clothes from animal skins and plant fibers to protect himself better. One day, while expanding the back of his cave to make more storage room, Daniel hit something with his digging tool. It made a sound different from the rock around it. He dug more carefully and found something smooth and flat. It was not a natural rock. The aliens watching him suddenly became very interested. "What has he found?" asked Zixforn, leaning forward to see the screens better. Daniel cleared away more dirt and rocks. He uncovered what looked like a wall made of metal and stone, but not in a natural way. It was clearly built by someone, or something. "Impossible," said archaeological expert Thrinlux. "Our survey showed no signs of ruins in this area." "They must be very old and buried deep," said another researcher. "Our scans did not go deep enough." Daniel seemed excited by his find. He worked for hours, clearing away more dirt and rocks. By the end of the day, he had uncovered a doorway in the strange wall. It was small, not much taller than Daniel himself, but it was definitely a door made by intelligent beings. The next day, Daniel made a torch from sticks and tree sap. He lit it with his fire, and then went through the doorway into the darkness beyond. The aliens' cameras followed him, showing a long tunnel that led deeper underground. The tunnel opened into a large room filled with strange objects. There were tables made of unknown materials. There were tools and devices unlike anything Daniel had seen before. There were markings on the walls that looked like writing. "These are ruins from the Centauri civilization," gasped Thrinlux. "They were on this planet more than 50,000 years ago. We thought all their sites had been found and studied." Daniel moved carefully around the room, looking at everything but touching nothing at first. He seemed to understand he had found something important. He drew pictures of the strange writing in the dirt on the floor. He studied the shape and design of the tools. Then he found something that caught his attention more than the rest. It was a round device with buttons and dials. It seemed broken, but not completely destroyed. "That is a Centauri atmospheric processor," said Thrinlux. "It was designed to clean air in their underground homes, but he cannot possibly understand what it is." Daniel took the device back to his shelter. For the next several days he studied it. He tried pushing different buttons. He opened it up and looked at the parts inside. He seemed to be trying to figure out how it worked. "This is pointless," said Ralathun. "Even our scientists took years to understand Centauri technology. A human with no tools and no knowledge of alien technology cannot possibly make it work." But on the 5th day, Daniel did something surprising. He connected parts from his broken radio to the alien device. He used wires and crystals found in the ruins. When he pressed a button, the device hummed and began to glow with a soft blue light. "He fixed it," whispered Zixforn in disbelief. How did he understand technology from a completely different world? The device began to clean the air in Daniel's shelter. The aliens could see on their sensors that the harmful particles in the air around him were being removed. Daniel went back to the ruins many times. He found more devices and brought them to his shelter. Some he could make work, others remained mysteries. But with each success, his life on the harsh planet became a little easier. His species has a special way of thinking, Zixvorn said to the other researchers. They can look at something they have never seen before and understand its purpose. They can connect ideas that seem completely separate to the rest of us. The alien team watched with growing concern. Daniel's discovery had changed everything about their mission. He was no longer just surviving. He was learning secrets that the Galactic Confederation had kept hidden for centuries. 4 months had passed since Daniel crashed on HD 429 bits. This was twice as long as the aliens had planned to watch him. His survival had become the most talked about study in the history of the Galactic Confederation. Scientists from many worlds watched the videos of Daniel building his home, fighting off predators, and fixing alien technology. The leaders of the Confederation sent an urgent message to the research ship. After much discussion, they made a big decision. It was time to meet humans officially. Daniel Carter had shown that humans were ready to join the wider galaxy. "Prepare a landing team," ordered Zixvorn. "We will go down to the planet and bring Daniel Carter back to the ship." The aliens put on their protective suits. The atmosphere of HD 429 bits was dangerous to many of them. They loaded their equipment onto a small ship and headed down to the planet's surface. As they came close to Daniel's shelter, something strange happened. Daniel came outside and looked up at the sky. He seemed to be watching for them, even though their ship made almost no noise and was designed to be hard to see. "How did he know we were coming?" asked Ralathun. The ship landed in a clear area near Daniel's home. The aliens were shocked when they saw it up close. What had started as a simple cave was now an impressive building. Daniel had used stones, wood, and parts from the alien ruins to create a sturdy home with multiple rooms. He had a water collection system on the roof. He had a garden of plants he could eat. He even had a fence to keep out predators. Daniel stood calmly outside his shelter. He did not run or hide. He did not seem afraid. He just waited as the aliens walked toward him. Through special machines that could translate languages, Zixvorn spoke to Daniel. "Daniel Carter of Earth, we have been watching you for the past 4 months. Your survival skills have impressed us greatly." Daniel nodded. "I thought someone might be watching. The cameras in the rocks weren't that well hidden." The aliens looked at each other in surprise. Their cameras were supposed to be completely hidden. "We came to rescue you," said Zixvorn. "This world is too dangerous for most life forms." Daniel looked back at his shelter, then at the strange landscape around him. "With all respect, I wasn't the one who needed rescuing. I was doing fine." He smiled slightly. "But I am curious about what happens next." The aliens explained everything to Daniel. How Earth's leaders had made a deal with the Galactic Confederation. How Daniel was chosen to test if humans could survive on harsh worlds. How his amazing success had changed how the aliens saw humans. "We would like you to come with us," said Zixvorn. "There is much we can learn from each other." Daniel thought for a moment, then nodded. "Let me get my notes and collections first." Inside his shelter, Daniel had detailed drawings of plants and animals. He had samples of minerals. He had maps of the area. He had notes about the alien technology he found. The aliens were impressed by how organized and complete his work was. As they walked to the ship, the aliens kept their distance. They had a new respect for this creature from a death world who could not just survive, but thrive in conditions that would kill most other species. On the ship, Zixvorn made his final report. "Humans have exceeded all our expectations. They are problem solvers beyond our current understanding. They adapt quickly to new situations. They understand technology with amazing speed. I recommend we classify humans as Class A potential allies." He added one last note. We should be very careful in our dealings with humans. They are not just survivors. They are conquerors of worlds that would defeat most other species. Their minds work in ways we do not fully understand yet. They could be our greatest allies or our most dangerous enemies. Daniel sat in the ship's observation room, watching HD 429 bits grow smaller as they left orbit. He had survived when no one thought he could. And now he was heading into a much bigger adventure among the stars.